Morning, guys. Uh, Today's video is going to be about what's another video on protecting, but this time it's about protecting your children. I felt the need to come and to do this video this morning because right now on the news there's like 3 cases of teacher-student misconduct, mostly teacher because they're the adults. You know, that's just something that we really, as a mom and as parents, one of the things is that, I don't want the women, because I'm mostly talking to the women, men usually by nature are usually pretty protective already. They pretty, and then that's even if you know a single father, but if they're usually pretty, pretty okay. It's usually a single woman that has to, be more protective, be a little bit more aware of who's dealing with her children. And so, I'm just going to first say how important that it is. And this is not to insult anyone's intelligence or anything like that. This is probably things that you already know and have probably already done. But maybe it'll help maybe some of the younger women or the younger generation, because I know sometimes it kind of seems as if they don't listen as well as some of the older ones. They kind of feel like, well, you raised your kids, you let me raise mine, and I can do this and whatever. But sometimes wisdom from the elders is it's a good thing to take because there is experience, and as you get older, and especially as you begin to walk a more spiritual path, you're able to see, you're able to hear from the spirit, you're able to, just see things. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, the older people, I know when I was growing up, it would be that the older women and so forth would just be like, they look at a kid and they're like, I think that little kid is such and such, that little boy so and so, and same thing with adults, y'all stay away from that man over there. I don't trust him. I don't think that, he, something's not right over there. You stay away from that house over there, something like that, and usually they were right. They didn't have to have all their business on Facebook and Twitter and all this kind of stuff. It was just a knowing. It was just, you can call it an inkling. You can call it a feeling. You can call it whatever. But, those feelings were usually right. They were able to pick up more on people back then. And it just seems like now there is such a stigma about judging, and, I think it's a bad thing. I really do. Because you can, if you trust your instincts, you can look at people and you should be able, you should follow what is being told to you. If you look at somebody and something tells you that it's just something not right about them, or, maybe they're a little whatever, you need to trust that. You really need to trust that. We're living in a society right now where the news tells us exactly how to think, feel, act, and react. All media, that's what they tell us, I know looking at news stories sometimes, they'll tell the story, and then, the the newscasters will come right back and have a 5 to 10 minute dialogue on what should be said and how you should think about it. And I don't really feel like such and such. And I'm just like, when did that become new? I mean, when I think it all has to do with changing the perception and changing the thoughts of the public to the way they want, the powers that be want them to move towards. I really do, because I remember back in the day they told the news and moved on. You know what I'm saying? But now so many of them will actually sit there and have commentary, about a story, and it changes people's perception when they do that. And I know that. I know they understand that, and that's why they do it. But even with that, this is where you still have to have a strong mind, and you still have to use your own thoughts and use your own feelings and use your own judgment on how to feel about everything and anything, But getting back to the children, this is why I say you have to use your gut instinct with people who are around your children. Now, a couple things that is just absolutely mandatory. What I did with mine, my children are quite a bit difference in age. One's an adult, one's still not even quite a teenager yet. So there's a huge age difference, and one's a boy, one's a girl. But I did the same thing, same tactic, As soon as my children were able to walk and talk, say words, have an understanding of things, which is, in my opinion, somewhere. I mean, it differs with every child, but in my opinion, I'm gonna say, I don't know, somewhere around 1.5, 2, 2.5, that type area. But your child, and it's just important for you to sit your children down and tell them their special spots on their body, their special sacred spots on their body, and no one touches them. No one touches them. And I told my children, I don't care, grandma, dad, brother, sister, cousin. I mean, I don't care who it is, because we know statistically it's usually someone in the family, usually someone that they know, a really close, even close people to the family, Another thing that I was very adamant about was my children sitting on people's laps. I think I'd be very, very careful about that, especially with your little girls, but I'm going to say with your boys as well. They start getting, it's so hard to say now. I'm going to say like about 2.5, 3, something like that. I mean, that's still really young, but you have some really sick people out there. They start young, but just use your instinct. If you're somebody's always want to pick up on your child and always wanting to hold them, and just watch them. Just be careful, but after a certain age, especially little girls, should not sit on any man's lap. That's just me. And my daughter didn't. Telling them about their special spots that no one is to touch, telling them about your sitting on people's laps, trusting your instincts, all of that. That's not judging. Trusting your instincts and looking at somebody and catching a feeling or having a feeling about them. Something comes to you is not judging. They have truly perverted the word judgment so badly until people don't even want to think anymore. Half the time they don't. But I mean, everything is judging. Oh, we can't judge. Well, you can't just say that about that person. You're judging. But hey, even if I am judging, judgment is I need to have the ability to judge. You need to have the ability to judge. That's not always a bad thing. Usually I find when people are always talking about judging is because some type of lifestyle or some type of something that they're doing or in, or some type of behavior that, they don't want anybody to say about anything about. And that's just the bottom line to it. Usually it's some type of behavior or something that they're doing that they don't want anyone to say anything about. And so everything just becomes judgment, But when it comes to your children, you need to judge. Now, the next thing with that is that we hear so many stories weekly about women who have left their children alone with boyfriends. Children wind up dead. Children wind up drowned. The children wind up hurt. The children wind up sexually abused. The children, it's just some really, really horror stories. I remember one where they say this woman's boyfriend, bashed the baby up against the wall. I think it wouldn't stop crying. And he literally and this was a baby, literally took the baby and bashed it against the wall. There have been stories of them, like we say, drowning children. Matter of fact, that was just a woman. Matter of fact, a grandma that they just had here on the news who they said drowned her autistic grandson. They're just so, it's just story after story of boyfriends. There was another one, which is why I wanted to come make this video, of a man who just killed the baby and left she left the mom, him alone with a baby and two other children, maybe like 2 and 5 or something like that. 2 is still a baby to me too, but he killed the baby, and I know it's a thing right now with perhaps the women have no daycare. I know daycare is horribly expensive. I also know that most people have to go to work. I understand that if there is any way that you could get anybody to keep your children, you're going to do it to save money, and a lot of times because you don't have the money. But here's what I did. I was able to, in the state that I was in, I was able, and y'all have to excuse me, but I really need this coffee because it's like extra, like super, super cold, and I think it's going to snow. So I'm cold. But anyway, there was a program, a government-assisted program, where the government will help pay for daycare. Now, the name of that program might be different things in different places. But the state I was in, I think if you work a certain amount of hours, like 32 hours or something like that, or go to school 32 hours a week or more, or it could be like 25 or something like that. I don't really remember. It's been a lot of years now. But it's something like that where they will help pay for a huge percent. Like 70-80% or something, or I think it goes by your income or just what have you. But it helps. It really helps. And you're able to put your child in daycare. Also, because just like everybody else, I had issues sometime with family not being able to do it, you know. I had a really sweet, I'm just going to say family member. I don't need to tell what type of family member, who, man, for a long time, I would have to, now this was on the weekends because I was working a job that I had to work weekends at least up until that, I want to say that first year. After that first year, you start getting your weekends off. So up until the time I had made my year, I had to work every weekend. And so this was call center work. And so I would have to get up very early in the morning and catch the earliest bus because sometimes buses did not, they don't run as early on the weekends sometimes as the weekday buses. And I was without a car, you know. But anyway, sometimes it's like that, especially in a big city. Sometimes in a really, really big city, a lot of people just choose not to have cars because, it's a big city. You can get anywhere, anytime. And and that's where I was. It was in a huge city, you know. So anyway, I would have to get up very, very early in the morning. I'd have to take, I think it was probably about 2 buses to get to their house, walk to get to their house after I got off the bus because the bus didn't go all the way down that street. And then I would have to walk all the way back, catch my bus, the 2 buses, to get back to work to where I needed to be. So I said all that to say sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it's very inconvenient, but you have to do what you have to do. And I did that for a while. I think I had some cousins who were able to at some time kind of, they got them off the bus for me sometime, and they would, stay at their house until I got home from work. But here's what I want to say. Never, ever, ever, ever did I ever leave my children alone with a man. Never did I leave my children alone with a man. Really never had too many men really living with me. But I never left or trusted and that's just me. I just don't trust you. I don't care who you are. I'm not, that's my baby, and I don't trust anyone. And so, I'll take them all the way across town if I have to find somebody who I know and trust, to be around my children or to take care of my children. And I feel like really if there's a person in your life like that you can't trust or you're not really sure or whatever, they probably don't need to be there anyway. Because whether you leave them alone with your child, whether you go out to the store, whether you go to sleep at night, if you don't have that trust, then they don't need to be around because, a predator is going to find time. They're going to make a way to do what they need to do. And that's also the reason, like I say, that I'm trying to tell you as early as you can, begin to tell your child about their special spots and talking and you tell them to tell you everything. I have always told my children to tell me everything. And my son, more so than my daughter, because she's trying to be sneaky. But my son, way up until him being an adult, would tell me all kinds of stuff. Sometimes I was just like, whoa, really? Serious? That I don't really need to know, But he was just open. We were just open like that, and I appreciate that. I really appreciate that, I find my daughter, she's beginning to, she just tells me a lot of stuff I don't want to hear, but the things I need to know, I still believe that because I made it so open for both of them at such an early age. Always tell me, I'm always going to listen. I'm always going to do something, which is another very important thing, is that when they come, and when they tell you, or when, you feel like there's something that they need to tell you, you listen and you act and you do whatever it is you need to do for that situation. Because, and also what I would do, I would ask them periodically, how you doing? Do you need to talk? Has anybody touched you? I mean, nobody has anyone said anything to you? Do you feel funny around, so and so? Are you okay with, going to so and so's house? How do you feel about them being around you? I mean, I asked all the time, because most of the time when there is a predator, they will scare the children. They will tell them whatever. I'm going to blow your house up with all y'all in it, whatever. You better not say anything. And then just the initial trauma of a molestation, or of it doesn't even have to be a full molestation. It could be a touching. That does something to a child. That it takes away something from a child, and it scares them. They don't know how to feel, how to act, what to do, I mean, they don't know. It's like it traumatizes them. Even a small touch, But anyway, you have to be very, very careful, and just getting back real quick to boyfriends, these boyfriends. I can't tell you how long you need to know them before you let them be around your most precious commodity, your children. I don't know. I guess it would depend on the person. You need to watch him. You need to watch his temperament. You need to watch him around other children, around other family members. And it's gonna take some real trust building. Because like I say, usually this abuse does not go on, and this violence does not go on until the mother's gone. Now let me just say this one thing. I do know this is not a bash on men. This is just to say that mamas are mamas for a reason. There are certain emotional connections. There are certain we just feel more for our children. I'm going to be a whole lot more patient with my daughter than somebody else is. Somebody else probably going to be like, whatever. I'm going to whatever. But me and a parent, I mean, we've all seen the child throwing a fit in the store. And the mom is just, everybody else like, I'm about to pull my hair out of me. If that was my child, I would take him in that bathroom and I would, but the mom is just, okay, all right, Johnny, don't do this. And, now I don't know if it's I don't know if that's an act. And when they get in the car, they beat the hell out of them. I don't know. But usually a mom has more patience with her children, and the crying and the getting on the nerves and all that kind of stuff than usually other people. Because I know with me, another child will get on my nerves real quick. And so it's just kind of like one of them things, you have your child over there and y'all good and whatever. But that's just really a woman thing also. Women a lot of times are a lot more patient with a child, especially a small child, a baby crying and all that. I have no problem with a baby crying. Matter of fact, I like the sound a lot of times. I have no problem with their baby crying. I have no problem stopping the baby crying. Maybe that's the issue too. I just, I got the knack. And so I don't have a problem with that. But leaving that child, my crying baby, or my crying child, alone with some guy or whatever that I met or whatever, he might be great with that child around you. But, that baby or that child is not stopping crying or doing whatever it's doing to get on that person's nerves or whatever while you're gone. Sometimes they just lose it. And they punch. I've heard of guys punching babies and punching little children, hurting them. The coming back, the child is lifeless in the crib or whatever. And, the mom's like, what happened? Boyfriend lying. You know what I'm saying? If he's even still there. So, it's just some crazy stuff because, those children know when that connection is gone. They know when mama's gone. It's just like when you send your child to preschool or daycare or kindergarten or something like that. 3, 4, 5 years old, first day of school, they are crying half the day. They're crying half the day because mama's gone. And so I would dare to think that that's what's happening in a lot of these cases. These children start crying and, they won't stop, or, they don't know what to do. They don't know that if you give him his little red ball, or, if you give her little certain specific animal, or, if you read this story to them or whatever, they'll stop or whatever. And I mean, maybe the vibe from the person, it may be, maybe that person just doesn't have the connection with the child. I mean, it's so many things. Sometimes these boyfriends don't like the baby daddies if they know them. Sometimes they're jealous. Sometimes they want you to have their baby, and because you don't have a baby, then you got his baby and this and that, and and it's just not that fatherly love. It's just not that fatherly connection where and even when it is a father, even when it is the biological father, sometimes they're not as patient as a mom. But most times, an actual father is usually not going to too much hurt his own child. There's some cases, of course, but usually these cases are boyfriends and other men coming in and hurting, killing, and abusing these children. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a very delicate situation. I just kind of wanted to bring that up. I wanted to, let you know, talk to your children as early as they can understand. Find people that you know and you trust. Find people that you know and you trust. Or, like I say, put them in daycare. I mean, I literally, at one point in my life, for probably, I don't even know how many years, up until my daughter was a baby to some toddler years, I spent so much money on daycare. Oh my God, if I could have that money back, I would be rich. Because, like I say, I was even paying for weekend care. So I had to find a weekend daycare because, like I say, that time before I was able to be off every other weekend, I still had to go to work, and I had to find weekend daycare. And weekend daycare is not cheap at all. As a matter of fact, I'm not even sure. I think I had to pay that out of my pocket. I'm not sure. I don't know if that program helped me with that or not. I don't know. I don't remember. But anyway, I spent a whole bunch of money. Because I had to work normal 8-hour shifts or whatever. Sometimes I'd have to work longer because on the weekend, that particular job was very, very, it was a call center job, but it was very, very busy on the weekends. And so, sometimes you would just have to stay. If the calls were not stopping, calls coming, I forgot what they called it, but the calls in queue or something like that. I mean, you got all these, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 calls in queue. You got to answer these calls, and so it was just a really busy job. And I had to work, and I had to do what I had to do. So I had to spend a whole lot of money. A lot of my check went on daycare, So you have to do it, though, for the safety of your children. You know what I'm saying? Ask them questions, question them often. I don't care who it is. If they're staying with grandma, still, you go with grandma, you don't, I don't care who it is. But that's me, though, Maybe you might feel funny asking that question, but I think it's worth it. To prevent these things, and like I'm saying, these cases that's going on here in my state right now I think one of them might be a middle school, but the rest of these are high schools where these teachers are messing with the children. We hear it all the time. Even then, still, children need to say something. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, guys, I just wanted to throw that out there. Hope you got something out of it. How it is very, very important for you to protect your children. It really is. I can't imagine being a mom and I've left my children with somebody, especially my babies, that with someone who I thought I could trust, and my child winds up dead. I mean, we never hear from these mothers. You know what I'm saying? Usually we bash them and say bad things about them and everything. And, some of it is just straight crazy, because there are other instances where, I've seen instances where people went out to get pizzas, and couples went out to Walmart and everything. Children in the house burned the house up. One. You all might have heard this. Some of the smaller kids put the young child in the oven and turned it on. And I think the parents I think they went out to a club, or, I mean, they went somewhere, left the children alone. That's another crazy thing that goes on, leaving children alone because there is no daycare there. Maybe they just don't care, or they think the children are asleep, or they think that, nothing's going to happen. They're going to, the 7 or 8 year old is old enough to watch the 2 and 3. I mean, come on, man, that's crazy. Because like we just showed and said, a lot of adults don't have that kind of a patience. You expect a 7, 8, 9 year old child to be able to deal with, toddlers, 2, 3, 4 years old. And I think in that particular case, I think that was they left like 4 or 5 kids alone with that little 7, 8 year old. That was the oldest child. I mean, first of all, there's laws against when a child can stay home by themselves. So I mean, we just got to really take better care of our children. We have to watch our children. We have to protect our children. We don't want a tragedy. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to be the victim of one of these crazy, horrible stories. You know what I'm saying? So even if you know someone who has some little small children or whatever, and they're struggling or whatever, do whatever you can to help them, to help them whatever, in whatever kind of way that you can. Anyway, you guys, I thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. And I hope you all, if it's cold where you are, please stay warm today. And until the next video, we'll see you next time.